Okay, so we had this really simple progression that sounded really nice, and the chords were F with A in the bass, C, E, and A minor, and we were playing this pattern which goes like this. Right? If you don't know your Travis picking assignments, you're on like A root chords, your thumb goes between the A string and the D string, and this pattern just goes. That's thumb and middle finger, and then thumb on the D string, pointer finger on the G string, and then thumb, middle thumb. That's A, B, D. So thumb, middle thumb, right? So the whole thing went like this. So we talked about adding a melody to that, and you could add anything you want, but if you add a high E string to the top of that progression on the first beat, you could add this note. You could add, right? You could add that all over the place. Does that make sense? So I'm changing one note, that first beat, to a high E string. So now sometimes I use my ring finger, but you might not be comfortable with that. For me, I always use my ring finger when I'm adding, if I'm not using a pick and I'm trying to add a melody note, like a fourth string, a fifth string. But it sounds kind of weird, right? It sounds kind of weird in some places. So what you can do is create a melody like that. That's what we were talking about. So you could go like this. And then, instead of regular old E, you could add that flat 7, and then back to normal A minor. So you can follow that melody. So the idea is taking your basic patterns and adding the melody notes that you want. Simple starting point is just taking a C chord, C major, and instead of going like this, I'm going to add my ring finger on that first beat. I'm going to replace that B string with a high E string. So you get a good look at my right hand. It's wait, sorry. Middle and ring. And I'm just going to follow this for the whole progression. So now, to me, this A, this third in the bass, kind of rubs with this F major chord, so I would want it to wrap my thumb around the bottom and turn it into an E root chord, right? I wouldn't want to turn it into into a D root chord, a chord with its root on the D string, because it just sounds a little empty. It's okay, but I think this sounds fuller, so I do this all the time. I'll put my thumb over the top and play major chords like this. So now it's getting a little more complicated, but it's the same basic idea, right? So we had this for a C major chord. A root chords function like that. E root chords, your thumb is going to be going from the E string to the D string, right? So like for an E major, you'd go same exact pattern, but you're not playing the A string anymore, you're playing the E string in all the places that you had A string, so your thumb goes like that. So for F, it would go like this. You could play F like this. I just find this, I'm worried about hitting that flat 7 or hitting this 4 that's not part of the chord, so I prefer to do this. So that simple pattern with a melody on, the same idea. Look at that right hand. And that's a rule I'm going to follow the whole song. Here comes C, A root chord, right? E, back to an E root chord and back to an A chord. And for these two options, I don't need that high E string anymore, right? So one other thing you can do is when you're on this C, we know we can do this, right? Instead of just, you can go, right? I got this kind of walking bass line. Not walking, but moving, right? So that's a lot of variety. And then instead of this E major, you could do this E dominant chord, right? And you could do A minor 7, a lot of stuff. And then I changed the melody to go. Let's look at my right hand a little closer. And you could go. Got that walking bass line.